Hey, what is up, everybody? It's Da Halfbreed here, and welcome to part 1 of my OP12 leader tutorial series. It's my next goal for the channel here. OP12 is coming out soon, and it's a set that looks really exciting. So my goal is to, up until release, I'm going to try and drop one tutorial a week. These are just PowerPoints that I put together after playing the deck a bunch myself on ranked and on the sim and stuff. So I want to help you guys get ready for OP12, maybe help you guys pick one of the new OP12 leaders to try out. And I like messing around with PowerPoint. I like educating people. I think, like an educator at heart. Even though I never studied that, I always studied journalism, but it's still the same thing of trying to research a complicated topic and transfer it in a hopefully more simple way. So that's my goal today. The first up on the list here is Rayleigh, old man Rayleigh himself, the teacher of Luffy and how to do hockey and everything. And my epithet here, that Rayleigh really is the most complex red aggro deck that we've had so far. This is not a turn your brain off aggro deck. It isn't. There's so many things that you have to learn and sequence, and so many new cards. So I hope I'll transfer you guys to that. And if you like a thinking man's aggro deck, this will probably be for you. So we have Rayleigh as a leader, 5 life, red leader. It seemingly has a huge downside with this. According to the rules, you cannot put cards with a cost of 5 or more into your deck. But the leader effect it gains is actually, I think, pretty... I think people are underestimating it a little bit. So the leader effect reads, activate main once per turn. You reveal 2 events from your hand, and up to one of your characters with an original power of 4k or less gets 2000 power. Now, this seems a little underwhelming when compared to like Zoro giving plus 1k to everything, but this is an effect that's just very nice because of the fact that it's free, right? This is the thing that really helps Rayleigh be strong, is that you don't need to attach a Dawn, you don't need to pay any Dawn, you don't need to do anything else. You just pick 2 events in your hand, you flip them forward, you show your opponent, and you get plus 2k for free. You don't have to do anything else. And it's a pretty easy to meet condition, which means you'll be able to activate this effect every turn really consistently without ever having to spend Dawn on it, which is a really big upside, right? And that's the real strength of Rayleigh. And the other real strength of Rayleigh is that it has access to a lot of new cards that are kind of leader locked to Rayleigh in one way or another. And so we'll get into those. So first, we got to talk about the zero cost event suite. These are all new cards. They're all new cards from OP12, the set. And the first thing you have to do if you want to learn to play Rayleigh is you have to learn to separate these 4 cards and realize which card is which one. Now, you might think that's easy, but unfortunately it's not, because they're all events that cost 0. And 3 of the 4 of them have an elephant on them, and the elephant is doing different stuff. So, especially on the sim, when the cards are small, it can be hard to tell them apart, but it is very important. And all of these events are strong. So first, you have Observation Hockey. It looks at the top 4 cards for a red event or a character with a cost of 3 or more, right? So this is the only zero cost event that is not a 2k. All of the other ones have this second ability of just being a plain flat 0 cost for 2k counter, right? This one gives you character or Silver's Rayleigh 2k, character or Silver's Rayleigh 2k power this battle. Up to one of your characters or Silver Rayleighs gets plus 2, all right? But Observation Hockey, even though it has 0 at the top, it does actually cost 1 Dawn. Because to activate the card, you have to attach an active Dawn to your Silver Rayleigh leader, right? So this is just another piece of searcher consistency. This is the 0 cost that you're going to be casting most often, right? These other ones you're likely to hold in your hand, but the Observation Hockey is the one that you're most likely to cast. Then you have Armament Hockey. So Armament Hockey says 0, but technically costs 1. You have to attach an active Dawn to your leader. and then you give your Rayleigh plus 1k, and you give something else plus 1k. So basically, you pay 1 Dawn to give plus 2. So this is the one that you're most often going to be using as a 2k on defense, but it does help you close out games in the late game by just giving 1 extra power, right? Your opponent might be prepared to be getting hit for 15k, but you use this Rayleigh to make it 16k instead, and then you kill them that way. All right, next we have Conqueror's Hockey. So this is a 2k for 0, but if you pay 1 extra, you give everything on your opponent's field minus 1000 power. So it's basically a super duper guard point, right? It gives plus 2 to something, minus 1 to the thing that's attacking you, and then minus 1 to everything else. And this hits leaders and characters. It hits everything. So it's really good against the go wide decks. And this is like a card that helps you a lot against Bello Betty and against like Red Zoro and decks like that, right? Minus 1 to everything, really strong. Okay. So last but not least, we have To Feel No Doubt. This is the one that doesn't have the elephant on it, and this is basically Rayleigh's Diable Jambe, right? It says 0 at the top, but that's just for the 2k event. This actually costs 2 because it attaches 2 active Dawn to your Rayleigh and makes your Rayleigh leader unblockable. So this only targets leader. It's not like Jambe where it can target any Straw Hat. This only targets leader. But if you target your leader, it makes it unblockable for the turn and lets you kill them very easily, right? And this one is also a 2k. So this one is most often going to be a 2k, and sometimes we'll just straight up kill them, right? In a lot of matchups, you'll just hold 1 in your hand until they go to 0, and then when they go to 0, bam, they're dead, right? Okay, those are the events. Those are most of the events you're going to be playing and searching for and using to activate for your leader. Okay, so now we have our next 2 kind of leader locked cards. Not really. These are the OP13 powerhouse characters. We have the 2-cost Boa Hancock and the 4-cost Monkey D. Luffy. So the events, they help you trigger your leader, but these 2 new cards are the real core and the strength of the Rayleigh deck, especially the Luffy. The Luffy is incredibly strong. It's the best card in your deck, most likely. So I guess I should read these since they're all new cards. The 4-cost Luffy is a 4 for 4000 power with counter. As long as you have 2 attached Dawn cards, this character gains plus 2000 power. So that's both turns, your turn and their turn. But you have to have the 2 attached Dawn, either leader or characters. And then on play, you can reveal 2 events. Just like with your Rayleigh leader effect, usually you'll reveal the same 2 events. And if you do, you get to play a character with cost 3000 power or less from your hand. Just put it out, like a little Filmbrook or whatever, right? Or a Jinbei. But then it also gives you 1 rested Dawn to a leader or a character. So often you'll use that rested Dawn to either attack for 6k with your leader, or maybe you attach a second rested Dawn on your 5 Dawn turn as well to make sure that this is a 6k body. And sometimes it'll even help your little searchers attack by making a 2k searcher into a 3k, and then you make it into a 5k with your leader effect. All right. So the other new card is the Boa Hancock, which both sets up for and is good off of the Monkey D. Luffy, right? So it's a 2-cost, 3000 power. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You can add a Monkey D. Luffy or a red event to your hand. And then it also has an activate main where you can trash it from play and to give up to 2 rested Dawn to one of your characters or leaders. So it's really nice because you can play this on 2, and then you untap, you use your leader attack, you lose your leader effect, you attack with it for 5, and then you can play something else and sacrifice the Boa Hancock to give 2 rested Dawn to your leader. This, of course, is good. Like I said, it's good to play off of the Luffy because it's a 3000 power character that helps you search. And it's good to help find you the Luffy because it searches for Monkey D. Luffy. It's a great consistency piece And these two combo together to create a lot of really strong plays. All right. So now we have this Searcher package. We have Buggy to find events. We have Nami to find Straw Hats. And the new card is Shakuyaku. So this is a 1 cost that reads exactly the same as the Boa Hancock. It's on play. You look at the top 5 for a Monkey D. Luffy or a red event and add it to your hand. Rayleigh is in a nice spot because you get to play so many Searchers. You can potentially play 20 Searchers in your deck if you want to max out, because you can play 4 Buggy, 4 Nami, 4 Shocky, 4 Observation Hockey, and 4 of the new Boa Hancock. So you're turbo digging through your deck, like almost every turn, all the time. And, you know, Buggy also has the nice upside of being immune to Slash. So there's a very Slash-heavy meta coming up because of the Perona Searcher. And it's one of your best cards in the Green Zoro matchup because it's basically unkillable in the Green Zoro matchup. And even against, like, Yellow-Green Law and sometimes against Smoker. It's very tough for them to deal with this. Because normally you would want to just attack Searchers with your leader. But if you have a leader that has a Slash type, you can't attack that into Buggy, which can be tough. All right. So now we have the other cards that you can play off of the 4-cost Luffy. The 4-cost Luffy is a little bit restrictive. You can obviously play one of the 1-drop Searchers or the 2-drop Boa. But sometimes you want something that can attack for a little bit more damage. So the best card by far to play off the 4-cost Luffy is the Punk Hazard Sanji, right? So this gives you 2 6k bodies basically, because the Sanji attacks for 6 and the Luffy can attack for 6. For the cost of 4, and when the Sanji dies, obviously you draw a card as well. So the OP12 Sanji is nice because it's a 2k. It plays off of the Luffy, and in Starve matchups where they're trying to, you know, rest your characters or KO your characters, this lets you add a life to your hand and get in some good damage. And you don't usually care about taking the life, right? Most decks can't race you and you just want the extra card advantage, and you have a lot of 2Ks. So I'm a fan of this 2K promo Luffy just because it helps consistency numbers. You can search it off Shocky and Nami and the Observation Hockey. And it's just another good card to play off the 4-cost Boa, because or the 4-cost Luffy, sorry. Because if you attach 2 Dawn to it, it swings as a 7k. You add leader effect on top of that, and it's a 9k swing. So I like that a lot. Okay. Next, we have the rush and removal pieces. We have Rush Zoro and Kid Killer, obviously. Kid Killer is great for ending games when they're at 2 or less life. And so you end games with the combination of these 2 packages. You know, you have your rush cards and your removal cards. You should know by now how good Mold Pistol is. There's a bunch of 4x Mold Pistol decks, right? It's really good in Smoker, always. Has always been very good in Zoro. And, you know, 4 cost to kill a 7k body is just very good value. So Gum Gum King Kong Gatling is an awkward one where I'm not the biggest fan of a card, but in a deck where you can't have any 5, 6 costs in your deck, much less 8 or 9s, you just need something that helps you pack just a little bit more punch. So King Kong Gatling, it gives 3k to a character or leader during a turn, and if your opponent has a 7k power or more character, they get an additional +1. Most of the time it's going to be 2 Dawn for +4 to help you close out games. And it's just something that you need to get over that final hill of damage, and great in combination with the unblockable event. So this is my full Rayleigh deck list right now. There's some 3-ofs here that are debatable, right? I am playing more 2Ks than most other people because I want to play this Luffy. Well, I'll explain that a little bit in the next slide, but this is just if you want to take a quick Snapchat or a quick snapshot and that's all you want, you just want to move on from there. Here's the deck list. You can steal it, have fun. Okay? So my explanations are like, I like the 2K promo Luffy just to make sure that Nami and Shaki hit as much as possible. You know, 22 targets is about 95% hit chance, which is what I would really like. I always aim for above 90% if possible. If you want to take out the 2K promo Luffy, you could replace it with more searchers of other kind, like you could up the Nami or the Shaki to 4 if you like. It just makes it slightly less consistent. But, you know, we're just talking about the difference between 95% and 90% if you cut it down from 22 targets to 19. But just math and statistics are very important to me. And this 5% difference can make a huge difference in terms of you whiffing, you know, 1 out of every 10 times versus this is like 1 out of every 15 times, right? It's a small amount, you might think, but with 20 searchers in your deck, every hit possible matters. So again, if you take out the promo Luffys and play other stuff, 19 targets is kind of what I would consider the minimum, because 19 targets gets you to about 90%. Less than that and you'll be below 90%, which I think is not a good place to be. But I'm just not a gambler. I like making my stats as above the board as possible, as consistent as possible. Okay? So, we had the deck list, and this is my little 3-step plan for Rayleigh. When I try and play it, if I don't know what matchup I'm against, if I don't know matchup knowledge, if I don't know anything, I'm playing against the random deck, this is what I aim to do every game. It's just 3 simple steps. Step 1, you play all your searchers, you spam the board, get some early chip damage in, and assemble 4-cost Luffy plus another good guy to play off 4-cost Luffy, right? That is like your prime step 1 priority. And then step 2 is play those 4-cost Luffys. Ideally, you want to set yourself up to play 2 in a row. You really want to play 2. That's when you start really getting a full board and getting to swing into your opponent for a lot of damage. Obviously, the best play, once again, is 4-cost Luffy into the Punk Hazard Sanji, the one in Nami's body. That's like your best play. Use those to push damage, swarm your opponent, try and play a little defense. Conqueror's Hockey is the best defensive card once you have a full board. Because once you have a full board, giving -1 to everything on their board helps a lot, makes combat a lot easier. And then step 3 is you close out the game with your rush threats and your removal threats, right? Once opponent is loved, once they're in love with you, no, this is meant to be low. Once they're low, you pressure them with Kid Killer and Mulligan. Embarrassing, but we'll keep that one. We'll keep that mistake in. You do have to get games over with, ideally quickly, because if your opponent starts stringing together 8 to 10 cost characters, it'll be tough to compete because you don't have access to that type of really, really big body, all right? Okay. So, tips and tricks to play Rayleigh. Rayleigh is, like I said, it's a really complicated deck. All of your cards have a lot of text. They have a lot of options. Do I use the 0 event as a 2K? Do I use it for its effect? Do I need to keep this card in hand? Did I make sure I activated all the effects of Boa? Did I activate all the effects of Luffy, right? So sequencing is very important. Making sure you've activated your leader effect and read all your cards, right? So Boa and Luffy, they both attach Rested Dawn. So you need to make sure you actually have Rested Dawn to attach to something. Especially Boa, right? You can't just attack with it and sack it right away. You have to play something else first. Your leader cannot target the Rush Zoro or the Kid Killer because they're 5,000 power, and your leader can only target 4K power or less. So keep track of if you have leader or not. Keep track yourself. Not only is it good for your opponent, but you want to make sure you use the effect every turn. So another tip is try to reveal as few events as possible, right? If you reveal 2 events for your leader, you want to reveal those same 2 events as often as possible. Or if you're going to play an event, reveal it first and then play it immediately after. So that gives your opponent a little bit less information what's in your hand. Usually I recommend revealing the searcher, and you kind of don't want to reveal Conqueror's Hockey, because the -1 to the whole board can kind of surprise them. And you don't want to reveal the unblockable event if you don't have to, right? And if you revealed something with your searcher, try and reveal that same card as well. So stuff like that, important. Keep track of revealed cards if you can. So 4-cost Luffy only maintains its buff if you have 2 attached Dawn. So if you attach 2 Dawn to a character and that character dies, the Dawn go back to your your Dawn field, and your Luffy can lose its buff. So if the Luffy loses its buff, it's way easier to kill, right? It's only a 4k body, and they can attack their leader in it and make you give a 2k, or a whole bunch of other stuff. So often you want to make sure you have 2 Dawn attached to your leader, because Dawn attached to your leader can't fall off, right? Mole Gun, you need to make sure you have a 6k body to play, 6k body in play. Otherwise, it can't KO. But it does always give the -5. So sometimes you can just use the -5 to help yourself attack into something. Or, like I was saying, you use Mole Gun plus King Kong Gatling to shrink something, buff something else. Either get you in a bunch of damage, or if you have like, if they have an 8, 9, or 10 drop that you just really want dead, you can make sure it dies that way. So please, read your cards, sequence one at a time if you can. Make sure you remember all your effects. And I know it's really hard. We have a command in my chat right now. You can, if you're in the Twitch stream, you can type !reading. And TCG players don't like to read their cards, but like Rayleigh is the red deck for readers. If you want to play Rayleigh, you have to know how to read, and you have to be willing to read your cards repeatedly, because they do not explain themselves on the first time you read them. Okay, so this is a basic matchup spread. These are at least all the matchups that I've played against with the Rayleigh deck. Obviously, there's other decks that I haven't considered, and if you ask me in the comments, I'm sure I'll potentially have an answer. But this is just the most important ones I could think of right now in terms of good matchups, like 50-50 matchups, bad matchups. The good matchups are like Blue-Purple Sanji. Mulligan is their kryptonite. Mulligan's really good, because if they ever swing with their Mr. Prince Sanji, you can Mulligan to shrink it, and then you just attack into it, clear it easily. You don't ever have to actually KO it. Blue-Purple Luffy, this is a big reason to play the deck. The 4-cost Luffy into Sanji is really good against them. 2 6k bodies right away. You can flood the board really fast, and if they ever go to 0 and they don't immediately play Lin Lin, you have an unblockable event to ignore all their Katakuris and Namis and just kill them right away. Green-Purple Luffy, another matchup where Mulligan is just an absolute all-star. It totally kicks butt there. If you can find one Mulligan to kill Sanji Pudding, it puts you ahead. The second Mulligan to kill anything usually wins you the game. Koala as a black-yellow Koala. Since you can't even play 8 costs or more in your deck, the only card in your deck that ever triggers the Koala leader effect is the 4-cost Luffy. And as a 5-life aggro deck, adding a life to your hand early isn't even a downside. You don't care. You can just kill them by spamming 1 and 2 drops and play a 4-cost Luffy, right? The Bonnie matchup is interesting as well. I think you're slightly favored against Bonnie just because it's harder for them to stop your go wide spam. And against Zoro, they can straight up just race you with I'm Invincible and leader swings. But it's much harder for Bonnie to do so while still keeping up their leader effect. And not just getting tempoed out by Mulligan right away, right? Like, if you have 5 characters in play, the Bonnie leader effect is just so much less scary. Okay. There is definitely some bad matchups for this deck, and some really, really bad matchups. Like, Yellow Kid is a very tough matchup. They have a consistent stream of blockers with their leader effect, and they have life gain with the new 6-drop Kuma and the 7-9 Law. Like, add on to that, they have the 2k X-Drake to rest your little searchers. It just means the matchup is very, very, very difficult. And then the two kind of like almost unwinnable matchups, like Lucci, you can sometimes maybe beat if you just face, rush characters. Unblockable. But Buggy is like unwinnable. The bootlicker Buggy exists. It shuts down your whole deck. Every card in your deck that isn't a 1-drop or a 2-drop searcher can't attack for the rest of the game. You just can't win if they play that card at all. Especially since, you know, it doesn't die to Mulligan. And then even after that, they can follow it up with a Crocodile Mihawk, and it's just impervious forever. So, yeah. You don't play Rayleigh if there's a lot of Buggy at your local, that's for sure. It makes it very tough. And then here I kind of have like the 50-50 matchups. Green Zoro does feel like a 50-50. The 4-cost Luffy is just not that great in this matchup because of Kuina and Tashigi. So with your best card not being as good, the matchup can be tough. It really is just about spamming 1 and 2 drops and trying to use Mulligan for tempo. 8-cost Mihawk is just very tough for the deck, just in every matchup. The first one is beatable. The second 8-copy of 8-cost Mihawk can often lose you the game, just because you can't attack through it, and if they can always keep one blocker up and attack with the second one, it's very hard to race. And Blackbeard is a very awkward matchup where it's like slightly favored for them on paper, but if they mess up on any turn, you can punish them really hard. They have to activate leader every turn, otherwise you just play the 4-cost Luffy and go too wide for them to ever deal with. But you kind of have to draw your rush cards like the Kid Killer and Rush Zoro. If you don't draw these, you just won't be fast enough, and they'll just be able to kill all your stuff with Doc Q and stuff like that. So it's probably a little bit worse for 50-50 than 50-50, and I'm maybe being a little optimistic about the matchup. But I think if you change your deck list a little and play some more rush characters, you can make this matchup a lot better. So that is my tutorial on Rayleigh. I went pretty in-depth, I think. If you have any questions, please let me know. You know, my final thoughts are just that, like, Rayleigh is a fun deck. It's really nice. You have a lot of stuff, and you can feel very smart once you're doing all of your game actions. But it is not a turn your brain off type of deck. You have to do a lot of reading, and you have to do a lot of math basically every turn. But you get an incredibly consistent aggro deck with up to 20 searchers and a bunch of flexible cards. You have some good matchups and some bad ones. The deck is really common in Japan, and it does quite well in Japan because of how well it does into the Luffys, both blue, purple, green, purple, and mono purple. But Japan never had the Buggy starter, so if that deck gets more popular, it'll hurt Rayleigh for sure. If Blue Purple Luffy gets banned, that's one of the good matchups you had kind of going away, so we'll have to see how the format changes then. But I hope you'll give this deck a try. I enjoyed it when I played it. I think it's a little bit too much for me in terms of game actions you take every turn and how much you actually have to think and be careful when you play the deck. But I'm a stupid guy. I'm happy to admit that. I know a lot about card games, but I can be a lazy guy when it comes down to actually playing the game. So I don't think this is a deck that I would play that much, but I do think it's a very real meta contender. So be prepared to lose to it for sure if you don't play it yourself. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I really hope you guys like this style of video. I hope you guys like the presentation. You'll have to let me know what you guys think. And check out the written version of the list if you want to read it for yourself. I'm going to be posting all of this stuff for free on my Metafy is the goal, and Reddit and some other places. But I don't like doing paid guides. I don't really believe in paid guides. But if you want to read my guides for free and you still want some paid coaching after that or something like that, let me know. Either way, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. And check me out at twitch.tv/thathalfbreed. Bye, everybody.